I'm going to start in verse 20 in Isaiah chapter 30. Right off the bat, for those who are not familiar, Isaiah chapter 30 is important. It's definitely an application as far as prophetic to me, which hopefully that, when we read, we can see that as well, because everything that's spoken back then was also for us. We can't disregard that. And at this point, from verse 1 all the way to verse 20, is basically talking about, the Israelites, the people of God that was in wickedness, and he's trying to get them back. And he's giving them a prophetic thing for them, and it's also applied to us as well. So, let me just get my paper here, just make sure I have everything. Now we're going to break down each verse, and we're going to use verses for connection so that we can see the connection to us. So, what I'm going to do is going to read 3 verses. I'm going to read 2 verses, and then we're going to go into it, okay? So, starting in verse 20. And though Yahuwah give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. Verse 21, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, This is the way, walk ye in it, when ye turn to the right hand, and when ye turn to the left. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to ask this so people can actually answer, what are you seeing so far in just these 2 verses? What is he talking about? What is the bread of affliction and adversity? Well, the way I see this one here, because it's specifically talking to his people coming out almost, turning back to him, it's the bread of affliction and adversity that he gives us. So I'm thinking a conviction. What I connect to is Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 3, if someone can go ahead and go to it and read it.
Deuteronomy 16, verse 3, right?
Yeah, verse 3.
Okay, it says right there, thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction, that thou hast came forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day. Excuse me. Oh. Excuse me. When thou came forth out of the land of Egypt, all the days of thy life.
And then now with that being in mind, because he's given us the bread of affliction, with that being in mind, we go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. And I'll go ahead and read it. It says, Nor of men sought we glory, neither of you, not yet of others, when we might have been burdensome as the apostles of the Messiah.
Wait.
So,
where was that?
No. What? 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6?
Yeah, I got something else.
Yeah, I got something different
You
too.
became followers of us.
Really?
You sure 1 Thessalonians chapter?
Is that 1st or 2nd
But it goes
Thessalonians?
more to your point,
Second
though,
Thessalonians
Wesley.
1:6. Since Elohim shall write your great affliction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I had that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. Thank you.
Oh, but listen, Wesley, 1 Thessalonians 1:6 goes to your point too. It says, and ye became followers of us and of the Master, having received the word in much affliction. With joy.
Burdensome. Yeah, that's the word burdensome. Yeah. It still goes, but let's go to 2
Second
Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. I'm sorry. And actually,
They're both good.
they're both good, but it's primarily 2 Thessalonians. And I'm going to write that in there. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. And it says, Seeing it is righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. I'm going to read verse 7. And to you who trouble, rest with us when the Messiah, Yahushua the Messiah, shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels. So I'm saying the bread of affliction is talking about his spirit of conviction and also the troublesome that happens when you're on the Christian path. Now, just to hit it home, there's 2 verses in Psalms 119 I want to go to. So if we go to Psalms 119, and it's primarily verse 67 and verse 71. Verse 67 is what we're going to read first, and then we go to 71.
Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now have I kept thine word.
And then someone read verse 71.
It was good for me that I was afflicted,
right.
that I might learn your laws.
So it's a good
Yeah.
thing what he's giving you.
That's right.
It's a very good thing. It's conviction. You're starting to see, I pointed to, you're starting to see your evil ways. You're starting to see your sinful condition. So he's giving you now, if we go back to Isaiah 30, real quick. Sorry. If we go back to Isaiah 30, and then when we read the verse again, it talks bread of affliction. So it says, and though Yahuwah give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, which is a good thing, conviction, waking you up, when he gives you these things, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. Who has the scriptures? You. Can you read that?
So Yahuwah gave you bread of adversity and water of affliction. Your teachers shall no longer be hidden, but your eyes shall see your teachers.
Yes. So the King James Version really doesn't give justice because they say the teachers won't be in a corner. By definition, that word corner is talking about hidden. They're not going to be hidden from you. Now they're going to be in the front. And I love the scripture's definition for that because it uses the proper word. So now when he's giving you conviction, showing you what's happening, now you're starting to see your teachers. They're no longer being hidden from you. You're starting to understand what they're saying. Now we're going to continue on because now we're going to start seeing a discernment that's given to you. In verse 21 it says, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So now you're starting to see your teachers. They're no longer in this corner or hidden from you anymore. They're in front of you. Their teachings is no longer, I like to say, bypassing your frontal lobe. You're not really paying attention to their teaching. You're just accepting whatever they say. But now they're in front of you. They're no longer hidden.
Yeah.
And now you have a voice telling you which is truth, which isn't. Go take this path. Right? Right? So this is similar to our life. I can tell this in my experience. I didn't see when I was in the world or when I was in the denomination I was in.
Right.
You didn't see your teachers for what they were saying. But now you're starting to get discernment. Now they're no longer hidden in front of you. Now you have a voice saying, hey, that doesn't match up with Scripture.
That's right.
Take this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read it one more time. And thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. Is there a verse that comes to mind when you read this? I know for me it does, and it's in Psalms. No? I equate it to a word behind me as a still small voice, which you find in Psalms. Let's go to Psalms 32, verse 8. I'm going the wrong way. Psalms 32, verse 8.
Can you read it?
Yes, you can read, but let me get there first.
Okay.
Yes, please, go ahead and read it.
It says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way which you shall go. I will guide you with my eye.
So we know that the still small voice is definitely talking about the Father guiding you through His Spirit, through His Son. Yeah, question. I'm going to read that so it's louder for the video. So it says, be not as a horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in a bit with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto you. So you're getting that discernment now. And it's definitely the Father doing this. He's telling you. He's that voice behind you. You have Psalms 23 where it says, He leads you beside the still waters. And I always equate the still waters being a quiet voice, the Spirit leading you.
That's right.
I want to go to,
It says his voice is like many waters.
many waters.
So the still waters can possibly attribute
That's
to
what
the
I'm
voice.
connecting with, but it can possibly definitely be, yes.
It reminds me of my favorite scripture, Isaiah 35:8. Says, and there shall be a highway and a way, and it should be called the way of set apartness. The unclean does not pass over it, but it is for those who walk the way, and no fools wander on it.
And this is showing us who's leading us to that way. It's definitely showing us. Now, if we just go to, I want to just show the result of this, of the Father leading us, this voice, His Spirit leading us. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. And I'm also going to have someone read that.
You said
Yeah.
3:8 to
Proverbs chapter 3, and we're going to read 5 and 6.
5
And this is just showing the result of basically what we read in Psalms 32. of being guided, and He's guiding us.
I like this.
Trust in Yah with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path.
Now you see I see this as a result. When He's leading you, we're supposed to lean everything on Him, give everything, your faith, everything, and He will guide you, and we trust in Him in every path He shows you to go down. So let's continue on now, back to Isaiah 30. So are we seeing application with these two verses to us in our walk? Does everyone start seeing that just on the first two verses? Because we're about to get even deeper now.
I see it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because again, in the same way, because this was the Israelites, they were in wickedness, and Yah's trying to bring them back, and He's telling them these are the steps that's happening. And again, everything that was said then is also for us now as well.
So,
There's
okay.
nothing new under the sun.
And you said we're in Isaiah chapter 30, and
We just did 20 and 21.
okay, and in verse, did you read through?
No, not yet. I'm only doing 2 verses at a time.
Okay, look, did you see? Oh man,
What?
it says in verse 9, it says that this is a rebellious people, lying children. This is Isaiah 30, verse 9. Lying children that will not hear the Torah of Yah. And then you just mentioned how, when He reveals to them the truth, then they can see.
Well, I was going to get into that.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't want to stop you because you were already reading it, but
Yeah.
verse 22, I was going to get into that with the covering. But
Yeah.
Nate, I saw your hand.
No.
No? That wasn't
That was earlier, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So now we're on verse 22 and 23. Okay? 22 and 23. So I'm going to read them. And it says, "Ye shall defile also." So after what's happening, verse 20, 21, "Now you shall defile the covering of thy graven images of silver and the ornament of thy molten images of gold. Thou shalt cast them away as a menstruous cloth. Thou shalt say unto it, Get thee hence, get away from me." 23, "Then shall He give the rain of thy seed, that thou shalt sow the ground withal, and bread of the increase of the earth, and it shall be fat and plenteous. In that day shall thy cattle feed in large pastures." All right, so let's talk about the covering first. So after you're receiving discernment, you get the bread of affliction. Now you're convicted. Now you're following. You're starting to try to seek and find truth. You see your teachers, and now you're being led down a path. And now you're throwing away this covering. What is this covering? I always equate it to, and we can go to the same chapter in Isaiah even confirms this. Isaiah 30 verse 1. And if someone can read that, please.
30 verse 1.
30 verse 1.
It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yah, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin."
So what is this covering that we're throwing away like a menstruous cloth?
The wrong spirit.
The wrong spirit. We don't have the spirit of Yah. Now we're finding out that we didn't have the spirit of Yah, so we're removing it now. We're tossing it. We're getting rid of it. And we're going to put on His covering, His spirit.
Getting rid of the unleavened.
And it gets even better. It gets even better because the word ornament in that same verse. I'll just go ahead and say, so the word ornament, actually no, because does someone have a concordance?
Is this
or something?
Salvaron in there?
It's Ifuda.
Ifuda?
Oh, I
Ephod.
don't
Yeah.
know.
It's Ephod.
It's ephod.
Okay.
The word ornament is actually ephod. Okay, so it's actually talking about, and who wears an ephod?
Priest.
The priest, right? So we're getting rid of this covering, this false spirit, and we're also getting rid of this false image or this priest that we have, in our lives. These are the things we're getting rid of from us. This definitely relates to me because I definitely had to do this with the teachings I already had that people told me and I thought I studied. I got rid of the covering, and I'm also getting rid of this image that I put there of either a group, a sect, of people, or my own belief. I'm throwing it off. I'm getting rid of it. Verse 23, it says, "Then shall He give the rain of thy seed, that thou shalt sow the ground withal, and bread of increase of the earth, and it shall be fat and plenteous. In that day shall thy cattle feed in large pastures." Now, I'm sorry. Quick question. So about the ephod, meaning girdle, when we're removing this girdle in verse 20 and 22, I always connect it to Ephesians chapter 6, where it's talking about the armor of God. If we can go to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 14, because the word girdle means ephod. So it's what we're supposed to have. And if we have this one that's false, and we're tossing out like a menstruous cloth, dirty, unclean, which one are we going to put on now? Because now we have the right covering, now we have the right voice leading us, now we have to have the right ephod. So Ephesians chapter 6, verse 14 shows us that, if someone can read it.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness.
So the girdle is the ephod. That's not the meaning of girdle, and you know what it is. So you're supposed to wrap that around. So after we get rid of this covering, this false spirit, and we're getting rid of this ephod that we had, we're putting on his stuff now. That's why it says it in other places in Scripture, especially in Psalms. Yes.
That's a awesome connection because, and I'm not sure because but in Isaiah it makes further reference about the armor.
Yes.
And that gives you the connection between like Ephesians like you're making and the fact that the armor that's being explained is the high priest.
The high priest, yeah.
So that's an excellent connection.
That's, I mean, when I saw the word ornament there and I looked up the word, I was like, what? It's not even because King James Version does no justice.
It's a
on that one.
horrible translation.
Yeah, it was a horrible translation. I'm thinking ornament is like, what is it, an object?
Right.
But in reality, it was more than just, it was a priesthood that you have in place that's not of Yah that you're throwing out. So back to verse 23. Now we get this thing. After we remove this false covering, after we remove this false priesthood, or this ephod that's in our lives, then he's going to give us rain. Can anyone guess already what this rain is?
The Ruach.
The Ruach, yes, the spirit of God, the spirit of Elohim, yes.
Also, sorry, I was looking at the
Yeah.
the rain, right? So yesterday we talked about the seed, and the seed was the people of the kingdom, and the rain. What it says in Deuteronomy 32, it says, "My
doctrine,
my teaching shall
yeah,
fall as rain and as the truth." So the sword of the spirit. So there's the ruach and the word.
Yeah, together.
Is
Well, let's go to some verses actually. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32, verse 2. That's exactly what you were saying, by the way. So Deuteronomy verse 32, verse 2. If someone can read that, now we're going to look at the connections of rain. So Deuteronomy 32, verse 2. Anyone?
Yes. And a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind. No. I'm in
Deuteronomy
Isaiah.
30,
Sorry, I'm in Isaiah.
32, verse 2.
I'll take over from here. Let my instruction fall as rain, my speech drop down as dew, as fine rain on the tender plants and as showers on the grass.
So that just shows what Jadiel was just saying there is correct, because Deuteronomy 32, verse 2 definitely backs that up, that his reign is his teaching, his doctrine. And his doctrine in translation is his teaching. Let's also go, let's do something in the New Testament. Let's go to James chapter 5, verse 7. If someone can read that. Again, we're still on the topic of connection with rain.
James 5.
James chapter 5, verse 7.
James.
5 verse 7. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the master. Behold, the husbandman waits for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain.
So it's definitely referring to us receiving this rain from the Father. And again, in Deuteronomy chapter 32, we're connecting it with his teaching, his spirit being poured out upon you. Let's go to one more. Let's go to Isaiah 55. I love this chapter.
I was just thinking about that.
I love this chapter. Isaiah 55.
It just came to my mind before you said it. I was like, Isaiah 55.
Isaiah 55, verse 10 and 11. That's that like-mindedness, by the way.
That's the ruach.
They're right there. Yeah, the spirit. So Isaiah 55, verse 10 and 11. If someone can read that, I think Catherine's going to read it.
No, because somebody else.
Oh, okay.
For as the rain,
Oh,
Go ahead.
One voice.
one voice. That is true.
Lift it up. No? All right.
for as the rain comes down, and the snow from heaven, and return not thither, but water the earth, and make it to bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, it shall accomplish that which I have pleased, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it.
So there's your confirmation when it's talking about what is that rain. It's his teaching, his word, his spirit being lit. And then the verse, not verse, but what I mentioned, it's in Proverbs, and I wish I remembered the exact verse, but those who water is watered also. So who is he sending to water? The person who's watering, you're watering, and then at the same time, you're receiving blessing as well. I'm going to call on Koya and then Erica.
Okay, so it reminds me of the verse that says, is one that waters and one that plants, but it's Yah that gives the increase.
Yeah.
But here it's showing that he's the one planting, sowing, and giving the increase. So even though we're planting and
we're not supposed to take it.
watering, it's him doing it through us.
We're not
So-
taking the reckoning. He's just using us
He
as a
gives
tool.
us the glory. He gives us credit
Yeah.
for what he's done through
I tell you,
us.
man.
It's nothing we can do.
And it takes me
Nothing.
back to Ezekiel 37 too. Wait, it's just another scripture.
Right? Erica?
That's right.
She knows. We don't know.
No, we don't know.
We don't really know.
Well, I was there. I felt a little bit of that.
You guys.
You are a witness.
Witness.
To it.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. We get all excited.
Wait, you said you had a verse. Micah 5:7.
Oh, Michael. No, Michael. Come on, sis. Read it.
No, go read it. Nice and loud.
And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew,
Do.
as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men.
You know what's crazy? When everyone's like, "Oh, we're
It's
waiting
crazy.
for that rain. We're waiting for that rain." It's supposed to be you. You know, you guys got to. We have to prepare ourselves so that we can be used as the rain when the Father chooses us. Everyone's like, "I'm waiting for the rain. Where's the rain?" It's the people. Remember the verse, laborers, the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. There's not many of us, and I'm just saying us. Okay, I'm incorporating everyone here, not like But we are supposed to be that rain. We should be getting ready to be that rain for individuals.
Right.
But back to Isaiah 30.
Oh, yeah.
It says,
They there.
Proverbs, it's Proverbs 11:25. I'll read real quick. It says, the liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that warreth shall be watered also.
Also, there you go. That's the exact verse.
brother.
Proverbs 11:25.
Thank you, Brother
But
Brian.
that's the rain. So the Father is sending you His
11:5,
Spirit,
right?
His teaching, His understandings, and of course we just discussed. It's talking about It's talking about He's going to use us as individuals
pour out.
to pour it out. So, what is the pastures? Why is it talking about pastures? Anyone have before we go to a verse? Anyone have anything in their mind? What's about
Psalms
pastures?
23.
Well, yeah, Psalms 23 is one of them, but I wanted to go to Isaiah first. Isaiah 49, verses 8 and 10. Because everyone's like, oh, what's the pasture? But the pasture definitely means something for us. And Psalms 23 is one of the biggest giveaways. But Isaiah 49, verse 8 and 10, because this is a confirmation with Psalms 23.
8 to 10?
8 to 10, yes.
Oh, okay.
Thus said Yah, in a favorable time I shall answer you, and in the day of deliverance I shall help you. And I guard you and give you a covenant of the people to restore the earth, to cause them to inherit the ruined inheritances. To say to the prisoners, go out, to those who are in darkness, show yourselves. Let them feed on the ways, and let their pasture be on all bare hills. They shall not hunger nor thirst, nor heat or sun strike them. For he who has compassion on them shall lead them, even by fountains of water guide them.
So the pastures is like, now He's giving us His teachings, right? He's giving us teachings, He's giving us the rain, and now He's leading us to beautiful pastures. He's restoring us to He's restoring us to His truth. That's where I see pastures. Pastures is a beautiful place He's now taking us, which is now in His protection, in His guard.
is where sheep eat.
Or sheep eat.
So they take the sheep to the pastures so the sheep could graze.
Because you're no longer, at this point, you're no longer that lost sheep. Because now he's bringing you into the fold. Because you just went through the waters of affliction. You know, you get the bread and the waters of affliction, the conviction. Your face is scary.
Sorry. Even with the Levites were given pastures. In the King James it says suburbs, but it's actually pastures for the cattle. So it's like the priests would bring their personal cattle to, or it said that the tithe was the inheritance. There's a lot of connection there. But the inheritance that was given to the Levites were the cattle, and the cattle was brought to the pastures so that way they can take care of the pastures. So we hear here, verse 9, they shall feed in the ways, and their pastures shall be in the high places. So this is where...
And I like how he called them prisoners. They called them prisoners.
All right, explain why you like that.
Well, when you come to the Father and the Son,
it's freedom, right?
It's freedom.
Right.
He's breaking the chains free. There's a verse in the New Testament that talks about that.
Right.
And in Isaiah 49, he's actually calling them prisoners, and now he's bringing them into pastures, restoration. In the next couple verses, we're going to see some more of that too.
Nice.
But everyone sees the rain and the pasture so far. Because so far, what's happening? You have the bread of affliction. You're being convicted. Now you're starting to see your teachers for what they really are, or what their teaching really is. Then in 21, now the Spirit or the Father is guiding you what's truth, what isn't. Then you reach to the point when you find out truth, you're like, man, I got this dirty covering on me. Let me throw it off. I got this image that doesn't belong to Yah at all, or it doesn't belong to God. I'm throwing it off as well. And then 23, now he's pouring out his Spirit to you, giving you his teachings and everything, leading you into the flock now. Now you're part of the flock, the pastures. Again, process. We're going through a process. I've been through this process. I can see it so far. So let's go to verses 24 and 25.
Hold on. Can I say
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing? In Isaiah 49, that's a quote from 2 Corinthians 6:2. It says, for he says, in an acceptable time I have heard you, and in a day of deliverance I have helped you. See now is the well-accepted time. See now is a day of deliverance, giving no cause of the stumbling and whatever, so that the servant is not blamed. Rather we commend ourselves as servants of Elohim in every way, in much endurances and pressures and hardships and distresses, in stripes and imprisonments and disturbances and toils and washings and fastings, in cleanness and knowledge and patience and kindness, in the set-apart spirit and love unfeigned, in the word of the truth, in the power of Elohim, through the weapons of righteousness on the right and on the left. And we see kind of like, it's kind of, you know, on the, you're talking about the armor, you know, and this is all kind of, you wrap all that in, everything.
And in verse, I think it's verse 7, it says for you, it says, by the word of truth, by the power of God, by the, mine says armor. What is your?
Weapons or
Weapons
armor.
or armor. Okay. So it can correlate with the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Especially when he's talking about the weapon of righteousness.
It's all about, like we said, restoration. It's all about restoration. It's a big, vast picture of Yom Kippur. Of actually believe to be proclaimed on Yom Kippur. That's when everything
It's restored back. The land goes back to the owner.
Right. Yeah. And everything goes back to
Yeah. Okay, so we're on 24 and 25 now, and we're continuing on with the he's leading us into this pasture, bringing us into the flock. All this is happening, and then verse 24 says, "The oxen likewise and the young asses that ear the ground shall eat clean provender, which hath been winnowed with the shovel and with the fan." Now, Rick, you touched this a couple days on the fan, and we know the winnow and the fan is. So you have the threshing floor, right? And that the wheat is brought in and is crushed, and the bad stuff is separated from the good stuff. And then the fan, the window and the fan comes in, and it's like what I'm familiar with. Okay, as a farmer, he takes his pitchfork and he picks the wheat, he throws it up, and it separates the good and the bad. The things that have no weight to it no weight to it flies away, and the things that have weight to it goes back down, and that's what you want.
That's a great picture of the Ruach too, because what separates is the wind. It separates.
And we're looking at, it's talking about the clean provender. So I'm seeing the clean provender as the food we eat. the food we're eating or doctrines or pure. Now he's giving us pure food. We're no longer eating the dirty food. He's giving us pure food that has been winnowed with the fan, so has been separated from, so you can have a list of doctrines and each one's mixed with some type of error. But now he's removing the error and giving you clean truth.
Hallelujah.
Clean truth at this point. Verse 25. Let's go to 25. And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of waters in that day of the great slaughter when the towers fall. Now, before we touch the tower part, let's stick with the rivers and streams and mountains part. This is what I'm saying when we look at because it's still referring to us. Okay, it's still referring to us because in that day, let's just go to John chapter 7, verse 38. John chapter 7, verse 38. And if someone can read that. And then I'll explain why I see mountains also us. And I'll go ahead and read it. Are you going to read it?
As the scripture said, out of his innermost shall flow rivers of living water.
So it's talking about us. He that believeth shall flow this living water. Psalms 23, my cup overflows. And we know that the oil in Psalms 23 is talking about his spirit. So when he pours that spirit in you, it's overflowing and you become a striver or river. A stream or river, not a striver or river. I'm sorry, that doesn't even exist. Okay, so we go back to Isaiah 44. Now that's just confirmation on the New Testament side. But let's go to the Old Testament side. So Isaiah 44 verses 3 to 4. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit excited here.
No, it's okay, man.
So Isaiah 44, 3 to 4.
I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessings upon thine offspring. And they shall spring up as amongst the grass, as willows by the watercourses.
So again, there's a connection to us, that when he pours his spirit onto us, we become this water, this river, and this stream. Let's one more to hit it home. Isaiah 58 verse 11, another great chapter that definitely is good to read. So Isaiah 58 verse 11.
I'll read that.
Yes, please read that.
And Yahuwah shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones. And thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not.
So that river and stream is definitely the Father pouring his spirit onto us, and now we become flowing rivers and streams to other individuals who we teach.
Yeah.
Now let's look at a mountain, why I say mountain is us as well. Psalms 125 verse 1. Psalms 125 verse 1. I'm going to read this. It says, "They that trust in Yahuwah shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abideth forever." So again, you have that correlation of mountain and us. Especially, it says Mount Zion, right? So we are those mountains and streams that are now filled with the Spirit, and now it's pouring out of us. When we have a friend or a stranger and we're talking scripture with, it is his spirit that's giving that individual understanding through us. Of course, we have no power to do anything of ourselves. Was that a hand? I saw a hand back. No? I saw something going on over there. Okay.
Right. I get it.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the tower. Yeah. No. You have to.
But yeah, it's like we get the inspiration to participate in what Yah wants. What Yah is doing. It's like we can plant the seed or we can deliver a message, but we can't put it inside of them or give them understanding. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's involving us in the work. He's allowing both of us to. Him, his son, and us to kind of move together as a unit, as a family, and
I mean, you see that through his son, where he tells you, "Go ye and make disciples."
Right.
I mean, it's
and we're not making them disciples of us. We're making them disciples of him.
You have a good correlating scripture here. So see, this is John 7:38 says, "He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water."
That's actually the verse we read before, but that's
we did? Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
but that's great because that's confirmation in the New Testament. I know most people just use the New Testament, but we have to use them both.
Yeah.
Both of them. I mean, what did the disciples use? They used the Old Testament,
It's ruined our minds, you know.
to bring them to the understanding that they have in the New Testament.
Right.
Now we're going to talk about the towers, okay? Whether physically or spiritually, let me just read the verse again. And it says, "And there shall be upon every high mountain, and upon every high hill, rivers and streams of waters in that day of the great slaughter when the towers fall." Now, some people say Twin Towers. Some people, I'm not going to look at it that way. You guys can come to that conclusion if you like. I'm looking at it in two different aspects. There is a physical, whether this happened yet or not, and then there is a spiritual. These towers that we have spiritually as a people, as a group, that are going to be teared down. But at this event, before this event, this is just signifying what's already been happening. And what's been happening, verses 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, awakening, people coming to Yah, people coming to the truth, and now spreading the truth, and have this outpouring of His Spirit. I see it as prophetically, but again, if you think it's physical or spiritual, and if it's the Twin Towers or not, or something going to happen in the future, it could be both. Could be both. That's something that I can't quite come to the conclusion yet myself, 100%. I do think it's both, though.
When we look at the Tower of Babel, it's like they wanted to exalt it and do their own thing, so Yah judged it and confused the language. And it's like a form of like man's pride and arrogance, like I don't need Yah, I'm going to just
do my
it's
own
interesting.
thing.
I think it's in Proverbs 18. It says the name of the Lord, or the name of Yahuwah is a strong tower, and the righteous one here and safe. So it's like he's pictured also as a tower, but it's not going to be.
Well, this is the tower that's purposely being brought down.
Yeah.
So definitely spiritually can't connect it with the Father, but you can connect it spiritually with.
No, I was saying. Man's gonna make his own tower. Is supposed to make his own tower apart from Yah, but. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I got it. So it's not saying this when the towers fall. This is when this sequence commences. It's the sequence already commenced, and this event is showing you that it has been. Okay, it's not the sign. Because I did hear people say until this happens, that the previous events is no. It's showing it's already happened. It's just proving to you that hey, it did. So before we get to 26, you see the steps. This is pretty much all of our walks, all of us, the bread of affliction, so on and so forth. So this is where it gets interesting. Verse 26, and this is going to be the last verse we go through in Isaiah 30. And it says, moreover, so it's not saying when the towers fall this will commence, it's already happening, okay? Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days in the day that Yahuwah bindeth up the breach of his people, and healeth the stroke of his wound. Real quick, let's talk about the breach. Isaiah 58, verse 12. Someone can read that? Because you do know we're supposed to be repairers of the breach. We all heard that?
Yeah.
So Isaiah verse 12. If someone can read that?
Isaiah 58:12.
Yes.
And they shall be of you, and they that shall be of you shall build the old waste places, and you shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in.
So this is definitely referring to us being repairers of the breach. He's binding it up through us. He's binding it. So what is he binding? So it says, moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun. What is the moon? What is the moon and what is the sun? Anyone have any ideas? Jadiel, I saw that.
No, I'm gonna let everybody else go. I'll go after.
Anyone? No? Because I'm...
I don't know. I think maybe in this metaphor,
Mhm.
well, the moon is reflective of the sun.
Yeah.
And so it would be like in the image and form of the sun. So would that be like?
That's another way I think of it as well, because I see scripture showing the sun. I think it's in Malachi 4:2, where it talks the sun of righteousness. Okay, you.
No, go ahead.
No.
Finish.
No, I was going to say, talking about the Son of Righteousness, referring to the Messiah. And that's definitely what I equated it as the sun being the Messiah, and the moon is being lightened sevenfold as the sun is being lightened as well. But you were going to say.
The moon is the lesser light, and I remember
Yes.
Rick was giving a study. It's like lesser, like
Yeah.
And the sun is the
less important, but it's not referring to like less important. It's talking about magnitude, like not importance. So it's like the moon is the lesser light, or it's a light that shines in a dark place, right? And it says that the word, the Torah, is a lamp unto our feet. Why is it a lamp? Because it's dark. It's dark and it gives us light. It also says that the Torah, that's a revelation thing. A woman is standing on the moon, and if the left, sorry. So the light that's lesser would be the Torah, which is what gives us the light on our path, but the Ruach would be the sun, which is what's enlightening us. So there's enlightenment in us, and then the Torah would be in the dark place, guiding us through the dark place. So
And that's exactly what I think.
And they're both variable in a sense way.
They're
Because
both-
even at the
yeah.
moon and the sun is actually the same size. You get what I'm saying to you? But it's just that the greater light leaves more, gives more light in the, you know what I'm saying?
In this case, now the sun is glowing, a lot, and now the moon is glowing sevenfold. So, I agree with what Nate said. Something great. Great. I connect the two. So it's talking about the sun is referring to the Messiah, the Son, and then the moon. When you correlate it with Revelation 12 verse 1, and we're not going to get into the prophetic thing in it, but there's a woman, and let's read it. If someone read Revelation 12 verse 1, the woman in Revelation 12 verse 1 is standing on the moon. So who's there?
Me.
Yeah, Koya, you are reading.
It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
Now, just focusing on the moon aspect, her standing on the moon, we do know in Scripture it does refer to a woman as a church, and I see that woman being the free woman and not the bondwoman, because the bondwoman, I believe, is the harlot. But I see the woman standing on the moon is the free woman, which is the true church of God, the true church of Yah. And she's standing on the moon. So what does that mean? So I connect it with Romans 3:31. And if someone can read that, it's a very important verse. Because if we are that church that stands on this moon, what is that moon? Romans chapter 3, verse 31.
Do we then nullify the Torah through the faith? Let it not be. On the contrary, we establish the Torah.
We establish the Torah, which the word established, stand on the Torah. It can be used the same way. So we stand on the Torah. So that moon that's being shined now, so now we have the sun being, going back to Isaiah chapter 30, it says, moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold. So the moon is now like the sun, but then the sun still receives that sevenfold. So now we're starting to see, I equate the moon being the law, the Torah. That is what's being shining to us, and that is the repairing of the breach that we're doing. The breaches that has been done, we're repairing the misconception or the character of the Messiah. We're repairing the misconception of the law of the Torah being done away with and doesn't exist anymore. Or we keep it inwardly. And that's what we're repairing. This I see is prophetic to us now, to anyone individual lives. We go through a process from 20 all the way to 26. After we revealed, after we become rivers and streams of water, then we're repairing the breach. And that's what I wanted to leave everyone here today with this exact study, because I'm excited about this study because I see my life through this. This is exactly what I went through. I saw the way I did it is I saw the Messiah going through everything. When I get to verse 26, I saw the Messiah, who he really was. I saw his true character. I saw the character of God. And then I saw his Torah. His Torah was revealed to me, which I see is the moon that we stand on that has been established. And the woman in Revelation is clothed with the sun. So we're clothed with the spirit of the Messiah. Yes, John.
It's interesting because if you look at it as a process, and then you look at the towers part, time frame, and then you look at the magnification of the Torah, and then you have the magnification of the sun. And then right after that, you see judgment. So it's like Yah is going to restore everything, magnify his word, his people, and then when he has his people, he's going to come and bring judgment.
And you know what's crazy? The next following verses, which we're not going to get into, I'm going to end it there, but the next following verses, it's actually the people rejoicing over the destruction of Assyria, which in it is in Revelation. It shows that the people of Yah in the walls of Jerusalem will praise his name of the destruction of the wicked. Not being a bad thing, but that his glory, his work was finished.
To deliver us from oppression,
the deliverance
not happy because they're being destroyed, but happy because we're being delivered.
Yeah. So this is definitely an application for us today. Now, when the towers and everything like that, I leave that to you to decide. That's up to you guys. That could be spiritual, physical, whatever tower.
See it?
There's a possibility of a tower in the future, or a possibility of a tower in the past.
Twin towers.
But I'll leave that for you to decide. But there's a process.
Another tower.
I see it.
Yeah.
Well,
So